New Yorkers Dave and Kevin are on a mission to open the first vodka distillery in Manhattan since Prohibition. The problem is they don't have a clue how to do it. Luckily, they are backed by a worldwide family of micro-distilleries in the making that have at least some of the answers. Follow Dave as he travels the world to meet locals, discover cities, and learns what it takes to build and run a local distillery. And become a part of his new vodka family.
All I can say is different now than it used to be.
It's one of the poorest big cities in the country.
About 1/3 of the land in the city of Detroit is vacant land.
Our heritage is making things and music.
Actually, Detroit's really cool.
Hey, ladies! Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello. Oh, and this is Foxy Brown. How are you?
I'm good, babe. How are you? You know, I just come from a family of entrepreneurs, grew up in the city of Detroit. You know, I did a story actually on the Our Detroit project when it first launched, and I always loved it. I always thought it was cool. For some reason, we reconnected. I really legitimately don't even remember. I know Kate and I met for coffee. I think she was a little traumatized by how her past partnerships had gone, and she was looking for someone kind of steady, someone that she could count on. The rest is history.
I think I'm a lot of different things. You know, it's been an evolution over time of who I've become. What's happening now in Detroit is very timely. What I've been involved in and working on in Detroit is specific to the neighborhood, to the city. I think it's compelling. I think, you know, what I can bring to the table creatively is useful and helpful, and just a different perspective to a spirit industry and a different angle to approaching it.
And I like working with women. The fight is more of a complex fight, and it's more of a protracted battle, I would say.
This week, switching out the magnets, put on the new distillery magnet, 4 or 5 new displays. Awesome. Some of the accounts are really questionable, though.
You have to also rely on the distributor and letting them run a little bit.
Where is it? Garden City. It's a really bad store.
Is there a way we can support the store with tastings? Is there a way?
We're doing tastings already.
I mean, I just think that...
Yeah, Dave didn't think that that was a great placement, the one Garden City store.
You know, Dave also thinks that, you know, this is part of what has to happen in terms of our overall process, in terms of working with Great Lakes. Okay. My mother was a nun. And my father was not a member of the Catholic Church. My father was from Mississippi.
Hello. How are you?
And then my dad, who was a serial entrepreneur, got enough money to buy out a bar in Benton Harbor, Michigan. So the spirits business kind of goes full circle.
It keeps going.
Yeah. Built in 1921, I believe, 1921 or 23.
Whoa.
It's my old newspaper photographs.
Oh, wow. What's the story behind this thing?
He was a Detroit gangster who ended up going up to Marquette Prison and died in a prison, like an attempt to break out with like 4 other men, and one of the men was affiliated with the Valentine's Day Massacre.
Oh.
Yeah, Detroit has a kind of a little bit of a gangster history.
It does have a lot of gangster history.
Yeah.
I mean, especially during the Prohibition days.
Absolutely. People say that there was the second largest economy in Detroit next to the auto industry.
That's our crutch of our New York thing, is that we are opening the first distillery in Manhattan since Prohibition. There is a tunnel at this one pub, and it's across the street from the police plaza. So the police would go, and they wouldn't walk through the front door, so they built a tunnel that led into the basement, and they would come out and drink, and then they'd be like, oh God, they get a radio call saying that we have to raid the place, so they would tell everybody leave, and then they'd like close down, and then they go back, and then they go under, and then you just continue drinking. So, you know, I get the tunnel system.
Detroit is 139 square miles, and the lack of density is a huge problem in terms of developing the city. There are a number of community groups that have formed around, you know, what do we do with all of this space? You know, if you think about the bankruptcy and a lot of the financial problems facing the city, the expanse of land that we're on has been a major problem. The freeways came to the city in the 50s and played a big role in destroying the cities, actually. All the roads are also oriented to getting people to work in the auto industry. You have, again, you know, you have this large area. So you have these neighborhoods that don't have any of the development. The public transportation is lacking. So again, you know, there's not a lot of money in the city. So you can't really rely on public transportation. The schools are extremely challenged. In the early 2000s, nearly 125 schools closed within 5 years. Detroit has really, you know, just borne the brunt of a lot of the economic shifts that have happened in the last 50 years.
I call it a man-made disaster.
Here, check this out. There's some other art. People don't ever get to see it, but some people come here and mess around. Anyway, my name is Leni Sinclair, and originally I'm from Germany.
Tell me about your photography, like the scope of stuff that you shot.
Well, I never thought of myself as doing any kind of professional photography work. I had a little camera, but that was like to take snapshots, you know, and send back home. But then when I met my husband, John Sinclair, we worked on starting this organization called the Detroit Artists Workshop. And among all those people, I was the only one who had a camera. So it fell to me to take the pictures to document all our activities. So I took pictures of all the jazz musicians that played at the workshop and all the poets. And then I also shot people around that appeared in Detroit, like in 1966, I shot John Coltrane. Got pictures of almost every jazz musician who played somewhere in Detroit.
So you said you came down in the late 50s?
59 in November. It was fun. When the hippie revolution started, all of a sudden we were very much in demand because all the teenagers from the suburbs were coming to the inner city to find out where the action is, where the local beatniks at, where you know, they saw all the stuff that was happening in San Francisco and in LA. They were looking for something to happening in Detroit. So we said, well, we're it. You know?
Were you here during the riots?
Just before the riots, Gail Grimshaw had painted a big bed sheet that said, "Burn, baby, burn." That was a common slogan at the time, like "off the pig," or, you know, like Black Lives Matter. Just a slogan. We hung it out, and it had a little a picture of a Black Panther. They took some pictures of that, and it was in the newspaper. So when the riot started, we took that thing down real fast. But the police and the National Guard, they thought we started the riots. They invaded, they came and tried to knock down the door, and John had a confrontation with them. They thought we had snipers hidden in the closets. But right after that, we decided to leave town because we didn't know if they were going to come back and shoot us or arrest us.
I know a lot of artists in New York that are all talking about, I'm going to Detroit. They're like, dude, it's like New York. I've always noticed when you see a neighborhood that's kind of run down, this is in New York now, and the artists move in, that neighborhood becomes the seed that blossoms into Hipsterville 2000.
It still is 139 square miles, so you can fit the city of Manhattan, Boston, and San Francisco within our square mileage. I mean, it's massive, so there's enough room for everyone. We just need to learn how to get along.
We gotta get the folk in here. How can we all get along? So basically, what is this heavenly place that you created?
This is the African Bead Gallery. This place generates the money to underwrite the costs of doing what I do outside. I came here in 2000 to open a bead gallery, but being in the community, very few people had an interest in beads, so I had to figure out a way to get people to come here. So I started working outside to get curb appeal.
Do these have any specific meanings, these red ones?
These are waist beads. Would be worn around the waist to protect the person who wore the beads, and also to act as a sexual stimulant for her mate.
You got this in a size 34? It's so wonderful and refreshing. Your artwork is amazing. I'm like so full of life right now.
Okay.
It's so cool.
Thank you.
How long has it took you to build this?
A 16-year project.
16 years.
2 years ago, I came outside. It was someone from the planning and development. They are the ones who control the land for the city. This lady was out there. She was crying. So I'm thinking someone had robbed her. So I panicked. I said, what's wrong? She said, this place just moved me. I said, okay. She said, and I'm from planning and development. Then that concern went to fear. I said, I'm being served my papers. But she said, we're gonna give you this land because this place has become a kind of site. I didn't want that because there's a sense of fulfillment when you're working sort of against the law, bending the law. So I asked him, could I board the building up? He said, yeah. It'd take about 3 years before, the process is 3 years before legally it would be theirs. So 3 years, I said, I can do whatever I want with it. So I built this installation here. It has changed 3 times. We're getting ready to change it again. This is an installation. It's a metaphor. The characters in the metaphor is iron, rocks, wood, and mirrors. The name of the metaphor is Iron Teaching Rocks How to Rust.
I guess it was a godsend for me to come here because of what I'm working on. And as an artist, my mind is going 100 miles an hour. So I thank you. You're basically saying, try everything, don't worry about it, and if you fuck up, you'll just get back on the horse and try it again.
Exactly. You know,
okay, those are some great pointers. I can't believe you have a firehouse. Like, come on.
I know. We bought it a couple years ago from the city.
Is that where the pole was?
Exactly. Yeah.
Ha! Get a load of this. Oh, man. You guys, wow.
Thank you.
That is, wow.
Don't you think, Dave, I mean, with this whole project, too, I mean, you being able to come to Detroit and...
You come to Detroit and you think, okay, I gotta go to Motown, I'm gonna go see the train station, and maybe go check out a Tigers game. And that's the thing, like, the behind the scenes is what really makes Detroit work. Anytime you put the news on, especially in New York, it's like, oh, Flint, or oh, something, all the bad stuff. They never talk about the cool stuff.
Right.
You want to put this big pot in this little guy?
I think we're gonna put a few of those.
Oh, you could remix them
a few,
like that?
Yeah.
I heard about this wonderful place. You guys kind of salvage all of this stuff and then make stuff out of it.
Detroit is full of abandoned houses, abandoned buildings, and most of that stuff either sits there for decades or goes into a landfill. It's wood you can't buy today. It's old growth lumber. It's wood from these ancient forests that were here 100 years ago. And I use it to make guitars. The wood from this came out of an old Cadillac factory that nobody saw any value in it. But what you see in the wood is it's got a really tight grain pattern. This actually has better resonance than the modern woods because it was grown in these really old forests and was grown very slowly.
I see what you mean by, look at the tightness.
Look at this. This is just pine. It's sort of the best of both worlds. I got modern electronics on here, I got a modern neck, but I have this really old wood. Basically, this wood was harvested at the same time as the vintage guitars from the 20s and 30s was harvested. So we want to make sure that everybody can track down where the wood was sourced. So on the back of each guitar, we have the actual address laser etched into the back of it. So this is the warehouse, and obviously, people call up, they got some copper from a roof.
This is like slot flooring?
Pieces like this, which would normally go into a dumpster someplace or go into a landfill, are getting batched into sections so that they can actually be reused. And they're reaching out to the architects, they're reaching out to the contractors and trying to get this back into people's houses. I got some wood out of an old recreation center where Diana Ross used to hang out when she was a kid, and Joe Louis used to box when he was a boxer. So it's pretty amazing to think that you're playing on a guitar that was once a painted blue bench that Diana Ross might have sat on. There's just miles of this stuff.
Whoa, there is miles of this stuff.
It's almost like the Indiana Jones, that last scene where you have the warehouse.
Where he goes into the warehouse to put the...
There's so many pieces in here that could be so many things.
I think every partner we have love their city in a special way, but Detroit is in a special place. It needs people that loves Detroit a bit more than other cities. And I think our partners are those people. Kate and Catherine and the people behind our Detroit are really doing stuff for Detroit in a special way. They're building parks, helping community. They have an art project to help people to exhibit their art in the distillery and use it as a gallery. From all our partners, they are the ones that actually works for their city the most, I would say.
So we bought this building in 2011. It's 30,000 square feet for $100,000. It came about, we really wanted people to get playful. It's one of those things where you jump on the horse, you might fall off, brush off your knees, and jump back on. We have a waiting list of about 400 people to get in. We have about 40 organizations in the space. The empowerment plan. They were one of our original tenants in Ponyride. They make coats that turned into sleeping bags for the homeless. We have Detroit is the New Black.
Dave is the New Black. This is the support system?
Need it. She's like killer. She is my whole life here at Ponyride.
You guys are the dynamic duo. Can you give me a little bit of behind the name?
Sure.
And I love the little accente over the E.
Detroit, if we're honest. Yeah. I moved to Detroit about 3 years ago. My friends and family were like, oh my God, Detroit, why would you move there? That's so scary. And actually, Detroit's really cool. There was so much to do here, and the people were so great. And it was just these layers of history in the city. I thought the Detroit really sort of incorporated the French history. It really was, it's built upon this trading hub. The New Black is, this pop culture thing. It's the new cool, it's the new hip. And it totally is. Detroit is becoming that scene.
1701.
So that's the year Detroit was founded.
Ha-ha!
We're working on this sort of cut and sew, manufactured 100% here in Detroit. And this is really more building the supply chain and the manufacturing piece of the story.
My girlfriend would freak out.
Really?
Freak out for that. What is it that Detroit Soup does?
We are a micro-granting dinner that funds projects that are looking to make the city better. So any idea at any point of ideation can come. They have 4 minutes to share their idea. They get 4 questions back from the diners, and then the diners get to each share, connect, and vote on what project they think should win the money from the door. It's grown because of a couple of things. One, we were acknowledged by the White House as a champion of change. They do these topics, and then you recommend somebody to like win this award, and I went to work on that. I'm not gonna lie. I've been jokingly saying that the White House knows more than the city of Detroit knows what I'm doing, which is crazy,
That's amazing. So all the pins are
Places, yeah, of people who've said, hey.
Yo, Kev.
How goes it?
It's going good, man. Detroit is off the hook.
But you still in Detroit, are you building?
Yeah, well, we've been going around and like finding out the real deal about Detroit. These girls are connected to so many real people in Detroit that it's like us, but in chick version.
Really?
I was talking to Catherine, and her biggest thing, I asked her, I said, well, what's the biggest thing that we should be, aware of? And she said, not to be afraid to do something. We met this dude called Diaby, and he's this black African artist. And his description of his art was exactly the same description of what I put for the distillery. Wood, concrete, iron, and then glass. It was mind-blowing. But it was.
What did you do, like sculpture type stuff?
Yeah, he does sculptures.
Fresh.
Yeah. Got Crazy Stacy's. Crazy Stacy retired.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, talk to you. Peace.